Okay, so our goal for today is going to be to cartoon the transfer of energy for this energy source that you've been assigned. And this energy source is hydroelectric power. So the agenda, you're going to draw cartoons for hydroelectric power to learn how it works and then how energy is transferred inside a hydroelectric power plant. Okay, so here's just sort of like a rough drawing of a hydroelectric power plant. We've got our dam here that's made of concrete. That dam kind of holds a bunch of water back. The water flows inside the dam, turns the turbine, which turns the generator, which generates electricity. Let's kind of break that down into a few steps here. So slide one, it's what you're going to want to draw here is just like a river, and you want the water on the left side of the river to be higher than the water on the right side, because the water is going to be flowing downhill. And so really the water at the top of the waterfall has gravitational energy, and we know that it has gravitational energy there because it's higher up, right, and it has the potential to fall down. So draw a river and just label that the water at the top of the waterfall has gravitational energy. Okay, so then you're going to draw pretty much the same thing for slide two, right? The water at the top still has gravitational energy, but we know that as it starts to flow downhill, it's going to lose gravitational energy as it's transformed into, and that's as the water moves downward, this happens. It's going to be translated into kinetic energy because the water is going to be moving faster and faster as it gets down towards the bottom. Okay? And so you're going to basically do the same thing, except now you're just going to label where the kinetic energy is for this slide. And so a dam can be built on a waterfall to capture the kinetic energy, right? And so what happens is the water is going to move through the dam. That moving water has kinetic energy, and we can capture that energy inside the dam. Let's learn a little bit more about how to do that. So for this one, really what you just want to draw is a dam on your waterfall. So you can use the same picture as before. You're just going to add a dam kind of in this middle part right here. Okay. All right, and so for this slide, what you're going to do is we're going to kind of zoom in on this middle portion of the dam, right, where the water is moving into the dam. And so we can see the water's moving down the dam. The kinetic energy of the water ends up transforming inside the dam, and the way it does that is through this turbine here. And so as the water goes through, what it does is it spins this turbine, and so it changes the kinetic energy into mechanical energy. So if you had wind energy as one of your sources, you'll see that this is very similar to what happens with wind energy. And the next step is going to be very similar to what happens with wind energy as well. So what happens here is as you spin the turbine, and so I've got a kind of a better picture of a turbine here. We're spinning the turbine. Well, what happens when you spin a turbine is that mechanical energy of the turbine turns the generator, and that's this part right here, or it'd be this part on the hydroelectric dam. And so what happens is as you spin that generator, you generate electric energy or electricity. So let's kind of take a look at what that looks like here. Here we've got a hand crank generator, and what this guy is going to do is he's going to turn the crank, and you can see the little light bulb lights up when he does it. So let's just go back and see that one more time. Moves it, you can see the light bulb isn't lit, but then he turns the crank and now the light bulb lights up. So this is happening because he's got a bunch of metal coil inside this part right here, and when he spins the hand crank, it's connected to a pulley, and that spins the metal coil. When you spin a metal coil inside of a magnet, that's what the red and blue part is a magnet, what happens is you induce electricity, and that's what makes the light bulb light up. And so most energy sources use that technology in some way, shape, or form. So in the water plant, what happens is the water goes through, it makes the turbine spin, and then the turbine spins the generator, and then that generator generates electricity, because the generator is sort of a similar setup. It's a magnet inside of a metal coil, or it might be a metal coil inside of a magnet. It sort of depends upon how they made it. Okay, and so then what you're going to draw for your next slide is you're going to draw your generator, and you're going to draw some wires coming off of it. And what you should see is those wires have electricity, and they're carrying electricity to the power lines. So this is sort of our ending step for all of our energy sources. The electric energy is carried to people's houses through the power lines. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know. One last thing before I let you go, let's take a look at the whole energy plant just to sort of review sort of how this works. So the water up at the top has gravitational energy. It flows downhill through the dam, through the turbine. Then it spins the turbine. The turbine will spin the generator. The generator will generate electricity, and the electricity will be carried off through the power lines to people's houses. So let me know if you have any questions on hydroelectric power.